In this session, I will share with you what are the 5 C's of stage movement. I call it stage movement, maybe you can call it stage management, or some people call it footwork. As you already know, in the body language session, it comprises of 3 parts. It's called a BFF. The first B is the body, which is the hand gestures and the poise. The second F is the facial expression, and the last is this, the footwork. By the time I explain to you the 5 C's, I'm sure you will find tremendous value in it, whether you are a beginner speaker or an advanced speaker. So what exactly are the 5 C's? The first C is what I call, take a guess. What is the first C? What is it? It's what I call the compass. Compass. Did I spell it correctly? Yeah. Compass. No, the one that you get lost in jungle, then you look at the compass, right? PASS. Sorry, my apologies. It's called a compass. The one that you look at, the one that have a arrow that show north. That is compass. Okay. But anyway, what exactly do I mean by compass? Now, my question to you is, when you're giving a speech, in terms of body language, how many directions can you go? How many directions can you go? Or if you're on stage, how many directions can you move on stage? If you're on a stage from left to right, in front, up, how many directions actually can you move? Take a guess. Many times I conducted the workshop and I asked the audience, how many directions? Most of us will tell me 4 directions. I can go right, which is where am I standing right? I can go to the left. Of course, I can go in front and I can go at the back. So they tell me 4 directions. Most people will raise their hand. So anyone say 6 directions? Some people raise their hand. And they say, hey, you can also stand up, jump up, or you can kneel down. Correct or not? But is it true there are only 4 directions or 6 directions? How many directions do you think? Say it. Say it out loud. The real answer is, in terms of the direction on stage, or even to the audience, there is actually infinite. The direction that you can go on stage is actually infinite. Think about it. In any presentation, of course, you can move to the right, you can move to the left. That's what everyone is doing. You can also move forward, or you can also move backward on stage. Some of the speakers will actually go move out into the audience, which I encourage you to do so, because when you move out to the audience, you directly connect with your audience. That's why in some of the major presentations where they are on platform, you see speakers actually go down on stage because they want to get close to the audience. That is right. But I really discovered this, that actually the direction is infinite, because if you think about it, if you are presenting a stories on stage, can you actually go diagonally? Which means and in all different directions. Can you go diagonally like this? Possible? Can you go diagonal? Yes. Can you jump up? Yes. Can you jump up in the diagonal directions? Actually, if you think about it, as if there's a round big circle on stage, you can go all different directions. And that's why I say the movement on stage could be infinity. So my question to you is, when you are giving your presentation, or you are on stage giving your presentation, how many directions are you moving? Is it just left to right, front and back and center? Or are you jumping? Or are you kneeling down? You know, you kneel down. Okay, I couldn't kneel down because if I kneel down, you couldn't see me, right? Are you kneeling down? Are you go on a diagonal movement? The more variety you have, you move on stage, the more captivating it is for the audience. Because I once watched a world champion speech for Toastmasters International, and this person his name is, I forgot his name, but he was giving a speech, or what is his name? His name is Anyway, I forgot his name, but actually I know him personally. But anyway, he was describing a coconut, and he was holding with him a coconut, and then he threw the coconut away. The coconut moved in that direction, and he himself moved at a diagonal direction. Wow! I look at it and say like, wow! Hey, if you really look at most presentation, seldom I see speaker move in a diagonal direction. And you can imagine he actually jumped off from his place, and the coconut moved outside, and he moved the opposite direction. There is a variation, there is a huge variation compared to all the other speakers. And in that particular speech, I think he won first runner-up of the Toastmaster World Champion of Public Speaking, something like that, okay? But actually the direction is, if you were thinking of moving left and right, and so on, forward and backward, try moving in a diagonal direction, try jumping, try kneeling down. And this would give you a variety of stage movement, and that's how you captivate the audience. Second, what is the second? What is the second C? This, I really observe experienced speaker and really even famous speakers on YouTube and stuff like that, and I really think that, hey, they miss this. Even they miss this. And they do it in opposite direction, which is what I call the chronological, chronological movement. Chronological movement. What is it? Chronological movement. What do I mean by chronological movement? Chronological means in sequential order. For example, if I have 3 things to share with you today, I can either show my hand gestures, point number 1, point number 2, or point number 3, correct? Or should I show point number 1, point number 2, point number 3? Should it be on the speaker's right to left, or on the speaker's left to right? Think about it. Chronological. This is a chronological. When you describe anything that is chronological, which is timeline based, which means during my early years, during my primary school, my secondary school, and my tertiary school education. So these are the 3 things, right? So you always explain the speaker's right. Start from the speaker's right side, which is the audience left side. Get what I mean? Start from the speaker's right side, which is the audience left side, because the audience read from left to right, or major of the audience read from left to right. So you want to be in sync with their eye movement. So you have to, when you do anything that's in sequential order, perhaps you can also do it from in their perspective. For example, point number 1, point number 2, and point number 3. You can move, you can also show your gestures, but make sure your gestures, anything that is in sequential order, try to do it from the speaker's right to left, which is the audience left to right, because that is how their eye movement move. Alright, what is the third one? The third one, you probably have noticed, is called the compare, C-O-M-P, compare and contrast. Compare and contrast. What do I mean? A very basic thing, in any stage that's divided into the left and right, okay? Left and right. And if you explain anything that is if you explain pro and cons, the positive and the negative, the black and the white, the truth and the fake news, okay? The truth and the fake news, whatever it is. Anything that is a contrast, a contrasting, divide your stage into 2, and anything that you say in contrast, always say it from the right. Or you can choose, you can either left or right, but you can say from the right. If you say from the right anything that is positive, or anything that is pro and positive, you stay on the right side. Anything that is negative and black or whatever it is, the contrasting one, stay on the other side. And if you want to win over someone else's trust, okay, so as an example, if you are talking about you had encouraging a group of people to go green, which means to ask them to recycle. So you have to say all the pro here and all the cons here, correct, of not being recycled. And at the end, if you want to solicit their positive response, you stand on the right side and ask the question, do you agree with me that everyone should go green and start recycling? When you ask that question, stay on the side which is positive, and then you will get a positive response. So I just want to make sure you have to segment your speech. It's also compare and contrast, or you can call it the dual segmentation. Segment the pro and the cons, the black and the white, the good and the bad, the positive and the negative. And at the end, when you want to solicit the response, always stand on the positive side and ask the question, and the audience associate with the positive remarks. What is this? I call it categorize. Categorize. Categorize your stage. Categorize your stage. For example, when you start here and you are driving, sitting in a car, and you drive all the way to home, okay? And after that, you are talking to your mom and dad here and there, and after that, they drove you to school right in front here, all right? And you're playing with friends, and then after that, you go back home on the weekends. You go at the back of the stage, and you met with an accident. So remember, this is where you start. Your home is there, in front is the school, and back is the place where someone met with an accident, okay? So remember, you have split your location. You have categorized your stage into 4 different areas. And whenever you refer back to your home or your family or talking to your dad, always stay back in this location. You don't go in front here where you are talking, where you have placed the school at this in the front location, and yet you were talking to your dad, mom and dad, right? You must make sure when you talk to your mom and dad, you go back to your home, and when you talk to your friends, you go back there, and when you're talking about your accident, you go back to the backstage. So you must make sure whenever you are referring to the item or the place, the person that you talk to, make sure you know where you have placed the person. Otherwise, you'll be a bit awkward, right? If suddenly your mom will be there. Your mom is there, suddenly your mom will be in school, or suddenly your mom will be in an accident, you know? So make sure when you're referring to them, go back to the location where you first place that item, the place, the location in your speech. So it's called a categorize your stage. I hope you'll find it valuable. Last but not least, I will share with you the next item, the C, is what I call this is the differentiation between if you're presenting in a small crowd of 15 to 20 people versus a big crowd of 100, 200 people, and versus 1,000 people. What is the difference in terms of your body language? The difference is this. It's called coverage. Coverage. What I mean by coverage, how wide or how exaggerated are your body language? Imagine if you're speaking in a small classroom of 15 people, and you start to go right. Hey everyone, my name is Ken. How are you doing? Can everyone raise your hand? Wow, this like 15 people in the room. It's a very small size of room, and you such a huge gestures. You scare them away. It will be intimidating for the crowd, for the innocent crowd that's there. So make sure you synchronize. Make sure your coverage of your gestures must be coincide with your audience size. Imagine if there's 15 crowd, you don't need to move from here to the end and then move back right here, you know, if for a small crowd. But for a bigger crowd, where you have 1,000 people or 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 people, where there are people at the end there. Some of them couldn't hear you. Maybe the system is not good or whatever, but it is okay if some people couldn't hear you, but as long as they can see your gestures. If the stage is wide, walk faster to the stage. A hand gestures but wider. To reach the person at the end, you have to have high energy and exaggerated body language. So coverage is very important. This is determine whether you are presenting in a small group or presenting in a big group. So make sure use this with caution. Use it with caution. Another thing I want to share with you is how could you actually step out of your comfort zone, which is exaggerate your movement. Really exaggerate your movement. Because if you are facing an audience of, let's say, 500 audience, and you're practicing at home. At home, when you're practicing, make sure you exaggerate your movement. Do the big gestures. Because when you meet with 500 people, I can tell you, it's a bit nerve-wracking. So your gestures will tone down. Okay. So when you are practicing alone, have a big gestures. But when facing the audience, you know how to move, because it's like a rubber band, right? If you stretch the rubber band wide enough, it will never go back to the same place. Then it has the effect of being able to extend. So as long as you can extend that much, when you are facing a small group, you can always adjust. But if you haven't reached this before, suddenly you always play around this area, this comfort zone, suddenly you ask you to stretch out, you might be fearful to stretch out. So you can also use this to practice. So remember, compass can go infinite, add variety, and a variety to your movement on stage. Chronological event, follow the eye movement. Compare and contrast, segment it into positive, negative, black, white, pro and con, so on and so forth. Categorize, know where the items are placed on stage. So whenever you refer to the item, go back to the area where things are placed on stage. The last but not least is coverage. How wide and how wide range are your movement on stage depending on the size of your audience. I hope these 5 will give you enough knowledge on understanding the footwork and the stage management. I hope by employing this, you'll be able to dominate any stage. All the best, and I'll see you in the next session.